What if you found out a friend of yours was exhibiting some pretty heinous behavior up to and including abusing alcohol, using drugs, abandoning their own children, and beating women in the past? How long would you put up with it before dropping them like a rubber ball in a kickball game? Well, what if instead of just a friend, it was your cousin? What if it were your brother? How about your own father? Well, due to a recent final camel's back-breaking straw, Anthony had to wrestle some pretty tough questions. How much grace should one give to our own flesh and blood, despite the crimes they may have committed against us? And how much forgiveness can you extend to someone in your own family, no matter how deep the wounds they've left behind? What would you do if you found out your hope was naively misplaced? How would you approach discovering that your own father publicly despised parts of you and your close family's core being? Well, we sit down face to face to discuss this important topic in hopes that it can help others navigate these violent, choppy waters. This one's another uncomfortable conversation without a condom. My name's Daniel Wagner. I hope you enjoy.
I've been bringing up this topic to a lot of people once you brought it up to me.
Just about the Charlie Kirk, or just the general sense
just
of
the general atmosphere of having a family member saying things online that they would maybe never say to you to your face, but then when they come to the family events, like everything's all jokes and laughs and having a good time. Meanwhile, you know in the back of your mind how they really feel or say they feel about you personally and your deepest held beliefs. It's just such a weird position to be in, where you're kind of playing pretend, I guess, is what that's what came to my mind. Because
I don't know. It's always kind of been one of those things where you kind of have to know your audience, sort of thing.
Yeah.
So if you're around a bunch of liberals, you know your audience. So you're not gonna really tend to cross that line as you would say your conservative friends.
Mm-hmm.
But I guess in a roundabout way, that's kind of similar to what you were just saying. But I've noticed that over the last 10 years, I was going back and look at some of the previous videos that we had done, and we often talked about, just the way of the world and the direction it was going, and that if we couldn't have civil debates or conversations, it was going to escalate to violence, and it was almost like our show was a bit of a precursor to what was to come. And not realizing, because I think it really kind of set the precedence for it back when we were discussing things with COVID and the government overreach and how people were reacting to the mandates and the way the government was just kind of all in our business and shouldn't have been. And then everybody was getting on social media because they had nothing else to do and they were voicing their concerns. But then you started to see the level of...
Man, I forgot about that.
Yeah, you started to see
that was the first time where people were not at jobs all the time, and
right.
They had time to start looking at things and
express their thoughts and their real... You kind of saw really what was going on in their head and how they really felt about liberals and then conservatives.
Yeah.
So to me, that was like the foundation of what has set us up in the place we're currently in now and where we keep going. And I made a post about this. I was like, I don't see an off-ramp for this. I really don't. Because the increase in violence that we're seeing from, I have to be fair, both sides, but I would lean more towards the far left being a lot more active in the sense of the way they
I know
approach
the sources that you and I follow. We probably see a lot more reporting on the left's violence, and the left sees a lot of reporting on the right's violence, whatever that is in general. I don't know what the numbers are, but I think we can both agree that the rhetoric on both sides has gotten so out of hand where it's to the point where we're like almost a caricature of our former selves, because all nuance has just been stripped away from most people.
What do you think got us here? Do you think it was a breakdown of just morals and values and just common decency between people? I mean, do you think there was a significant breakdown of that at some point?
I don't think so. I think it was more of putting a magnifying glass to what was already there. Where these ideas were there. People had shitty methods for thinking things through.
Right.
Or just a straight up inability to think critically. And like when you brought up the COVID thing, where people started to actually have a bunch of time to start thinking critically, you can just start to see it. Like, like people cannot think their way out of a paper bag half the time.
Right.
But that's not even the biggest problem. The problem is that everybody thinks that they can, and everybody else is the idiots. You know what I'm saying? Like, everybody thinks that they've got it figured out. They've got the answers.
Yeah.
They know what's right. And you and I are no exception. I mean, we think we have our answers, and that's fine. But everybody thinks everybody else is the idiot.
I don't think we have the answers. I think we're constantly looking for the answer, is what I tell people. Because we're constantly having to research. We're constantly having to find, is there any kind of solution or conclusion to what it is we're looking for? You know, I have to disagree with you on that, only because we've spent so much time in this podcast world, I guess you want to call it, or the sphere of, you know, talking about critical thinking and talking about the social issues and talking about the way society has kind of broken down because of COVID and now currently where we're at. You know, I go a step further in wanting to know, what is the root of this? Like, what has caused the divisiveness? I mean, obviously we know the media plays their big role in it,
Right.
but what else is there? Is it the doctrination of our children in the schools to, you know, to kind of, you know, push back against the parents for, you know, what they're doing in the home versus what's going on in the schools and the colleges, the workforce?
Yeah, it's multifaceted, for sure. Um, and I would say, just to push back on you a little bit, is when you and I are exceptions to what most people do. I mean, we, as part of what we do,
Right.
we kind of have to be more curious and inquisitive and more studious in what we do.
That's true.
We are put in a position where we kind of are required to do this and make sure we have our facts straight. Whereas most people, when they just get on social media, there's no obligation to be factually correct.
No.
You know, when somebody sees a small out of context clip, you know, you think Nicholas Sandman, for example.
Yeah.
We knew almost immediately, hey,
There was more to
there's
it.
more to this.
Yeah.
We need to look into that. Most people see it, they react, they think they've got it figured out, and they don't question it. They don't need to. They don't want to. It's just post it, move on with their day. And they let the next thing, you know, rage bait them into the next, you know, emotional tirade. And I just don't think I don't think it's a normal, common thing for people to go, wait a minute, hold on a minute. Unless you're the type that is like that, and then you go full on conspiracy theorist where you're so far deep into everything.
There's
and
no
then
bringing you back.
Yeah, you just slingshot back the other direction. And it gets so frustrating because you don't see that nice middle ground of just, you know, reasonable, like looking at things going, okay, does this comport with reality? like does this make sense? Is it, you know, are the motives even there for, you know, because half the time you know, they're like, oh, this person did that and they're responsible for that, and the motive was never there, and you're like, what do you mean? Terrible example, but it's just in general, there's that lack, the complete lack of going and double checking. And then for some reason, and I don't get this, when people find out like their news sources have lied to them, they're like, oh, it must have just been a one-off. No, absolutely not. Like, that's why your reputation is going to be so important moving into the future, especially with all the AI crap. I mean, we've been talking about that too. Is this the AI stuff and how hard it is to tell? That's something that Chase and I talk about on the Patriot Punkcast, where it's going to get to a point where you have no choice but to focus on local politics, and it's going to get to a point where you have no choice but to actually put trust in the people that can put that effort in and pay attention. So your reputation is paramount at that point. And if you're caught lying or slacking or making a mistake and not admitting to making mistakes,
Right.
like, it's going to be the end of your career. Like, you're done. People won't trust you anymore. At least I hope that's the direction.
Well, yeah, that's for people in the career-minded business of doing what we do as far as podcasting and media and stuff like that. But for the everyday person, and I'll give you an example. I just had a friend of mine. She shared this post on Facebook of, apparently The Blind Side 2 was coming out, if you're familiar with that movie, The Blind Side. But it was an AI generated photo. And I knew immediately. I mean, come on, I've seen better AI than what was posted. But because she is probably not familiar with AI or what to look for, and the lengthy text that was put with that photo, she believed it. She shared it,
Yeah.
just like that.
Yeah.
It's scary, dude. I mean, it's like no different than taking clips and taking things out of context with Charlie Kirk and posting them all over social media and only giving just the bullet points of what the discussion was about without actually having to research it.
Yeah.
Which the left has labeled him a racist, bigot, white supremacist, and all this other crap. And I'm thinking, wait a minute. I've spent quite a few years following his content. Nothing ever suggests that he was any of those things. What would lead you to believe that? And then I actually look at some of the photos and some of the screen, like just the memes or whatever that's posted out there, and I'm seeing the bullet points of what he is, but you're not giving any context to what you're saying.
No.
But then people are quick, so quick to jump on it and say, well, he's this and this and this because they said it. So it's got to be true. So rather than me thinking for myself, I'm going to be lazy and I'm going to share this and say, well, this person was a racist or this person was a bigot or whatever.
Oh, I don't think it's just a small correction. I don't think it's because they said it. I think it's because, oh, well, this thing already comports with what I already believe. Like I'm already predisposed to believe this, therefore I'm going to believe this.
So this kind of leads me into what I want to talk about, this kind of personal of what we've been discussing with the way people tend to perceive things on the internet or just in general, particularly to when it comes to family and when it comes to politics and social issues, right?
Yeah.
So I want to take you back probably early 2000s. Actually, as a matter of fact, it was 2002.
Do we need like a shimmery, montage of going back in time, and then
I've got photos I can send to you.
Play some. Yeah.
Well, what it was is right after September 11th, about a year later, I had some family that lived out in D.C. And my Aunt Diana and her husband worked at the Pentagon at the time.
Mm-hmm.
He was in the Air Force. And I went out there to visit for Thanksgiving. Now, mind you, this was a little over a year after 9/11. And was so excited to see my cousins and to see my aunt, to see my uncle, to get to tour DC for the first time, to see all the, monuments and to see the White House and that whole spill. And
all the classics.
Yeah. Oh yeah. Not realizing that at that time, my family was heavily Democrat. Thus, me being on, part of the Democratic Party when I was much younger, is because you socially accept that's what your family believes, so you kind of adapt to that.
Yeah, you trust your family. Yeah.
Right. So, but again, Democrats back in the early 2000s are nothing like they are now, although it's hard to tell from every decade or so what they're looking like to everybody. But
hell, those early Democrats are Republicans now.
Yes, it's very true.
Like that, Donald Trump used to be that.
Right.
That used to be Donald Trump.
I was the same way.
Yeah.
So I go out there, I visit my aunt, and she was telling me stories about how she used to work for CNN and all the people that she's come in contact with over the years that I never really thought about until recently, that are heavily Democrat or, if you want to go far leftist or whatever. Because back then that really wasn't a thing. So I go out there, I visit, loving it. Life moves on, get older, voted for Obama back in 2008, and then did not vote for him again. Because as you start to develop, there's something about our mind or our thought process that is just naturally inquisitive, in my opinion.
Some of us, anyway.
Well, I think most of us, because I don't know. I like to think most of us, but I'd like to travel, and when I travel, I like to learn things about where I'm at, just to kind of get the general sense of the history behind where I'm going and what's there and what I want to see and visit and do. Same thing with DC, right? So fast forward, 2016, Trump runs for office, right? I'm friends with my aunt on social media. I'm friends with my 2 cousins on social media. Didn't think much of it, right? So I put it out there for the world to hear and the world to see. I was going to vote for Donald J. Trump, right? I got tired of what Obama did and what the Bushes were doing. I was like, we need new blood. It doesn't hurt. Let's bring in a businessman. Let's see what he can do.
He represented something outside of the
Norm of what we're
standard operating procedure of the DC Beltway.
Right.
Yeah.
So all in on Trump, right? So all of a sudden I saw this shift where my cousin, my oldest cousin, I'm not going to give out her name, but all of a sudden was a lesbian. Okay, that's cool. It's whatever. And then my aunt was, she was really kind of behind that, as I think you should be with your children, whatever the choices they make. But when they found out that I was going to be voting for Trump, the attack started on my post from the both of them.
Like challenging you or like attacking?
No, just Trump was, he's dangerous for the gay community, and why would you vote for somebody like that to be put in office? And I'm like, where in the hell is this coming from? Like, when I literally tell you this was out of the blue, it was really out of the blue. I did not see this coming. And then all of a sudden, I'm blocked by all 3 of them.
No shit.
Yeah, no shit.
Over one post?
Oh, well, probably multiple.
A series of posts.
But it had nothing to do with the gay community. It had everything to do with wanting to vote for Trump.
Right.
That was it. I was like, well, this is kind of disheartening, So that happens. Have you
heard from them since? Or?
No. I reached out to my aunt when she lost her dad a couple of years ago, who was my grandfather. Reached out to her, let her know, just sending my condolences. And she said, thank you. And that was it. There was no follow-up. There was no trying to reconnect.
No acknowledgement of...
No. And then fast forward, Biden gets into office and all this other stuff. And we saw how that went for 4 years. Not the best, I think, ideally for a lot of Americans. And then we started to see a lot of the George Floyd situation. And then you just really saw what happened during COVID, right at the end of the Trump presidency. And then, of course, Biden picked up where Trump left off at. And you really started to see more after COVID, going back to originally what we were discussing, the fundamental breakdown of the human experience. And what I mean by that is we no longer talk to each other. We yelled at each other. We threatened each other. There was a strong presence of that, and you could feel it. You were seeing it on the news, and the news was perpetuating this as much as they could. You saw that. The mostly peaceful,
and both sides were doing it.
Right. And I'm just talking in general, not naming one side versus the other.
Before anybody thinks it was just coming from one side or the other, no.
Right.
I looked at it very closely. It was coming from both sides. A lot of people like to think only one side does all the threats. Like, no, no, because I listened to left-wing commentators too, and they were getting death threats against their families and stuff in emails as well.
Right.
This was going both ways. The threats anyway.
Right. So then I kind of stepped back, and then the whole George Floyd thing happened. And that's where things really kind of turned for me. And I saw the looting, I saw the violence, I saw the burning of buildings, businesses, people getting shot or beat up or whatever. And I'm thinking, this is Democrats. This is a party that I used to be associated with.
Some of the businesses having to put signs up that said, hey, don't hurt me.
Like,
we support Black Lives Matter. Please don't hurt our business.
But I'm trying to understand from the point of the left, what purpose does that serve? You're only hindering and hurting your own community. You're not uplifting it. You're tearing it down. What do you think is going to happen from that? It's almost as if, they're not putting one foot in front of the other to realize, if I keep doing this, I'm going to end up tripping over myself if I don't watch where I'm going. And that's what they did. And with saying that, it's...
That assumes that they didn't already consider the what's the word I'm looking for? The alternative to be much worse than what they were doing. Well, they're convinced that what's going on is way more terrible than any property damage they could do, and they're
Right.
being brainwashed into being told that property is not important. Like, it's just property. So they minimize the value of property, and then they maximize the emotional firestorm that they're being fed, and it's just it's a hell of a mixture when somebody's super convinced that literally, and this bothered me. I thought about this the other day. There's kids coming up that are getting ready to vote now that have only known Donald Trump as a racist, bigot, fascist dictator.
Right.
That's all they've known. They've never known Donald Trump back in the day with all the reality TV shows and all the stuff he was doing for New York. They don't know all that stuff.
Right.
And how the black community used to embrace him and love him, and it's all of a sudden he wanted to run for that position of power, and now it's just, there's people growing up that have only known that they currently are living in a country ran by a Nazi dictator.
Yeah, and what's scary about that is because we're so hyper focused on wanting to know the here and now. We don't focus on going back and learning, our mistakes and what it is about people, in the history of who they've become, where they're at, what they've done, and that goes for our country as well. And but moving forward with this, it's the George Floyd thing really kind of set that precedence for me as far as, okay, well, there is something very, very wrong with our country. If you take the politics out of it, the social breakdown of everything going on. I mean, obviously we know that within the black community, there's a structural breakdown of the fathers not being around. So you have that aspect, and you have women openly, wanting to have abortions for an inconvenience, purposes, because,
electively, yeah.
Yeah, I mean, it's just, I'm seeing that, like, again, was this a moral breakdown? Was this a substance breakdown within our families and our school systems? Like, how did we get to this point where to have an abortion just off a whim because you made one decision in life and you didn't want it to affect the outcome of your schooling and your business or whatever, because you knew that it was going to alter your life moving forward? It's like,
yeah, we could have probably a 6 or 7 hour show just breaking down all of the arenas in which blame can be placed.
Right. I'm kind of, yes.
That all leads into how we ended up here.
But this, I mean, it kind of sets the foundation of what we're going to get into, or what I'm going to discuss with you, and what I've been wanting to discuss with a lot of people. So yeah, moving forward after the situation that happened with my aunt, I had a phone call with my dad, who was my aunt's sister. And
when was this?
This was recently. This was just a couple months ago.
Okay.
And I talked to my dad.
Because last we were about 2016.
Yeah, this is moving forward.
And then we went to George Floyd. And then,
right.
So
now we're more current on what's going on, right?
Gotcha.
So before I get into that, let me talk about my dad coming out here last year. So my dad came out to visit me last year. It was a good visit, right?
Yeah.
So me and my dad have never had the best relationship over the years. My dad left me and my sister and my mom when I was little. Well, I mean, just giving you the backstory of kind of where my relationship is at with him.
And how old were you when that happened?
I want to say it was probably 3 or 4.
Wow.
Yeah. So
Wow.
Dad takes off, and it's me and my sister and my mom.
Do you know why he took
At the time, no. Now,
he says,
she says,
right.
It's whatever. Okay. So I went a lot of years, and I've touched about this before. My mom used to really demonize my dad and just paint him to be a really bad person. Mm-hmm. So going into my mid-20s and even late 20s, I wasn't sure about my father, right? So because my mom had ingrained all this stuff, all this bad shit about my father into my head.
Yeah.
And naturally,
so you had your own little miniature propaganda operation right there in your own household, turning you against your dad.
Yes,
essentially,
and
just keeps hammering those same points over and over again. It's the same thing we see on the big screen.
I will tell you this: I'm a big believer that any couple that gets divorced,
Mm-hmm.
The women tend to have a higher probability of talking negatively about their ex,
Mm-hmm.
especially if they have children, to their children.
Right.
that is a very common thing. It's disgusting, as a matter of fact. Um,
Yeah, that was unacceptable
yeah, that's
behavior.
what I
Yeah,
was,
like
brought up with.
I have I my oldest daughter. I raised her since she was 11.
Right,
Never once did I say anything negative about her real father.
right.
Never once. I could have said stuff, but I didn't have to. And we, I think I don't know if it's because of me or whatever, but my wife also never talked shit about her ex in that
Right.
regard. And my oldest grew up just kind of figuring it out herself, like
That's
figuring out how she feels about him herself. We never had to push it. We made a very, and you have to be very conscious about it. You made a very conscious decision to not do that, to not sway her one way or another.
yeah.
Let her make her own choice, and your mom should have let you make your own choice.
No, she
How
didn't.
soon after they divorced was your mom in like another relationship with?
It wasn't soon after. So then this is where I'm going to get into the story of my life that I've never told anybody, even you.
Just
And
to
we're
finish,
really good friends.
yeah, just to finish that point, if she had gotten a good quality man in her life after that, the likelihood that she would have spent all that time talking mad smack about your dad to you might have been minimized. Is what I'm saying.
That didn't happen until later when my mom got involved with Jim. You remember Jim?
Oh, okay. So the shit talking didn't start immediately. It started later, or
No, it started earlier. It didn't stop until she got with
stop.
Jim.
Okay, I got you.
So,
Okay, so just further bolstering my point then.
yeah, my mom had a bad habit of jumping from relationship to relationship. And the
Yeah.
problem was a lot of these guys were just not good guys.
Yeah.
I remember Brooke growing up, and I do not remember the age, but I remember he was very vocal towards my mother, and I remember running him over with a car.
Oh,
Um,
okay.
yeah, and then Keith, another one who was somebody who was not very pleasant in talking to my mother, and I put him through a door.
And there's something
So
about the
there,
single mothers of children. I know that's redundant, but the single mothers who somehow attract these total douchebags. Like they sit around and just look for those victims to prey upon.
right?
And what was that stat? And Lord help me. I hope this never happened to you, but the children in those scenarios, I think we've talked about this, are something like 31 times more likely to be sexually assaulted by a non-related dad or related man in the household.
Well, that happened with my sister with Keith.
Yeah.
It was a Christmas Eve. This was back when we first moved up here, and he had gotten drunk pretty bad one night, and he tried to sexually assault my sister, and then I went after him, and then I went after him again. That was a situation where I ended up beating the shit out of him and putting him into a door.
Mm-hmm.
Gotten into some trouble for that, and then moved out. Um, this really isn't kind of where I want to go with this conversation, but it's just kind of as a prelude to what we're going to talk about with my father and why we're here. But moving forward, it was a lot of negative things about my father that I was listening to from my mother.
Yeah.
And it was like there was this type of situation to where no matter what my dad did, it was always going to be wrong in the eyes of my mother. Mm-hmm. My dad eventually ended up moving out to Arizona. He was out there for quite a few years.
And you still got a lot of family out there, right?
I do have family out there. But I always wondered why my dad left Florida and went to Arizona, right? So then my grandfather, my mom's dad, God rest his soul, he's no longer with us, was a man of many talents, a man of quite a few connections.
Okay.
And I'm on the golf course with my grandfather, and he had some, let's call them associates that came down to visit from Chicago, right? And we're on the golf course, and of course I'm just being a caddy at this point. I'm a young kid. And my grandfather looked at me and he goes, "Has your dad ever hurt you?" I told him, I said, "No." He goes, your dad's not a good person.
Okay.
And he said, well, what do you want to do? I said, well, what do you mean, what do you want to do? Do you want him to go away, or do you want him, what do you want to do? And I said, well, I don't understand what you're saying. The conversation was kind of left at that. And then the next thing I know it, he's in Arizona. That's kind of odd. To have a conversation like that with my grandfather, with some of his associates, and then all of a sudden he's in Arizona?
So your dad left, and then this conversation with your grandpa happened.
No. This conversation with my grandfather happened before he left.
And then, you think as a result,
I don't know.
maybe, but you can't talk to your grandpa to ask. So yeah,
He asked me questions. My family originally is from up north, New York, New England, Chicago area, which has always been heavily known for certain type groups of people.
Okay.
If you kind of follow where I'm going.
I'm with you.
Those friends would come down to visit my grandfather. When I would go over there to visit my grandfather, we would go out to the golf course, have certain conversations. Because if you're on the green, nobody's hearing any conversations you're having.
Gotcha.
So my dad moves, he moves out to Arizona. I haven't talked to him, haven't seen him. Probably in my early to mid 20s, he shows up on the front door one day of my house in Tennessee, out of blue. Just got into his ass, where have you been all these years? What have you been doing? Yeah. So we've reconnected over the years. We would have family reunions down in Georgia. I'd see all my aunts and cousins and uncles and my dad, and things were developing pretty good. I knew that my dad had a history of alcoholism, plus he did a lot of drugs, and he also beat women. And I remember when I was a small kid, he was dating a woman by the name of Patsy. And I don't know if this was my dad's home at the time or if it was Patsy's home, but what I do remember is that we were in a hallway, and I could hear screaming into another room, and it was my dad yelling at Patsy. And I remember Patsy opening up the door. It was before I was 10. I know that, but it was enough for me to remember. Mm-hmm. And I remember Patsy opening up the door, trying to get us into another room. And then my dad grabbing her by the throat and putting her up against the wall and shutting the door. And then we eventually ended up going outside. And then there was another situation where he was dating some woman out in Arizona who, it's all speculative as far as what happened in Arizona, but there was a woman that we believe that he was not very nice to. So then I thought to myself, maybe this was better off that he didn't raise me, because I'm not an alcoholic. I don't do drugs. I don't beat on women. I'm not a good person. So going back to the current situation, I've taken a lot of years to digest a lot of what my dad's done, the absence, the physical, mental abuse he's done towards other people, the drug-related situations in and out of jail, the alcoholism.
The stuff you actually had proof for?
Yeah, yes. Forgiveness is something that I've struggled with majority of my life, and still do to this day. I tend to think that I give a lot of grace towards a lot of people, and I shouldn't, but I do. But I did with my dad, because I felt like, and I've been preached to over the years, that those are your parents, right? And I was not realizing that I was giving my parents a free pass to act and be a certain way.
Yeah.
Only to understand.
Just because they're your parents.
Right.
Like as though that category makes them immune from judgment on shitty behavior or something.
Right. So then I was like, okay, I don't know how it's hard to explain, but trying to forgive somebody for so many years of things that are so broken, it was very hard to do. And I felt like over the last couple of years, I was growing further and further away from feeling a certain way, forgiving a lot easier. You know, I would tell people, I'm not living in the past. I don't want to live there. I can't grow as an individual if I constantly reflect on what he's done in the past, because who he was 30 years ago is not who he is today. I am not the same person 30 years ago that I am today, right? So how is that fair for me to judge and put that on him? Okay, I'm going to give him the benefit of the doubt. All right, let's see what he can do. Well, he still smokes weed and still drinks, and I got into a shitpost war with him and text about my daughter, Kelly, and I basically told him to fuck off, and we didn't talk for a little while. And then we got reconnected. We started talking again. Things were going good. And then finally, I invited him to come out to Tennessee to see me, right? He hadn't been here in 18 years. And didn't understand why. He would go to Georgia every year, go see his family down there, but he would never come out to Tennessee to see his own son. That was weird. So I've often felt like a child should never beg their parent to come spend time with them or to come see them.
Hell no.
And I felt like that's what I was doing. But he did. He came out. He visited for a couple of days. I told him, I said, you know what, Dad? I said, how about this? I said, I know your situation. Why don't you come out here? The only thing you got to worry about is just gas. And whatever else you decide to spend while you're out here. I'll cover your food. I'll make sure that you got a meal every single day.
Yeah.
I'll cover your lodging. You got a place to lay your head down and sleep. And you don't have to worry about getting a hotel. You don't have to worry about paying for food. Just gas to get out here. I'll make it so easy.
Just removing as many barriers as possible.
Right. Making it
just
so easy on my father so I can spend time with him.
Yeah.
Let him into my world that he has not seen in 18 years, except for the brief time he sees me in Georgia when we're there for other things.
Did he seem like he wanted to come see you, and like maybe he was just saying that there's other things were excuses why he couldn't? Or was there any indication at all that he was actually interested in coming to see you other than...
He would tell me all the time, you know, I really want to come out there and see you. I love you. I'll get random text messages. I love you, son. I'm proud of you. All this other crap. And I shouldn't say that. It's not crap. I mean, I genuinely think he felt that way.
I was actually about to say that. Just an interesting way of... Because those are the things you would want him to do, I would hope. But that you characterize it as crap is very telling, too.
Well, only because of what we'll get into later. And then I was just, you know, I had this conversation with Becky, and I'm like, why does this feel forced? Why do I feel like I had to go off on my dad? Didn't understand why he didn't want to come out to see his own son. I gave him everything under the sun for him to come. I even offered to pay for his gas to come out here.
Yeah.
Like, you know, and then he was like, well, let me talk to Audrey, his wife. And he said, we'll work something out. So they did come out. He did. And from what he told me, he had a great time. He had a great time meeting everybody. Longtime friends of mine. I mean, just from what I thought, he had a great time. Okay. So then fast forward just a couple months later, or about a year later, and the Charlie Kirk assassination happens, right? Now, me and my dad are friends on social media. I don't get on his page. I don't see what he posts. It really doesn't show up in my news feed.
Yeah,
so
you're
I'm
not like following him obsessively.
Right. So I thought, you know, okay, the Charlie Kirk assassination happened. Now I'm seeing how society is reacting to Charlie Kirk. Yeah. I'm hearing all these things about him being a racist bigot, all this other crap.
Oh, yeah. Can't stand black people.
Right. And if you actually do your homework, and I tell you what, this is where context really matters and what we talked about in the past, especially on the show. And you see a lot of people not doing that. And I got on Facebook one morning and I was fixing to go to bed. I had to work that night. I got on and I was like, I wonder how my dad's reacting to this. If he's said anything. That was the worst mistake I could have ever done.
So you were just, for one time, just kind of never really thought to check his page before. You just...
Because of the political and social climate that we're currently in, and seeing the talking points and seeing the instant reaction to the situation.
Yeah.
I wanted to know how his reaction was.
And
So I get onto his Facebook page and everything changed. Not just with my father.
What'd you find?
Let me grab my phone.
Yeah.
And here's the thing. It really wasn't just me either. It was other people sending me screenshots of the bullshit that I was seeing. And...
Wait, so you just off a whim, you thought to check your dad's page, and then all of a sudden other people are also sending you screenshots of things he said?
Yeah.
As well? I
was really hoping that... Holy shit! No.
So yeah, I know you sent them to me. I seen the post, and
well,
did you know he was left leaning or was political at all? Or
okay, so when my dad came to visit, him and Audrey both have told me, you know what? We don't have the same. I knew my dad was a leftist. I knew he was. He's an old school hippie. I tell him that all the time. Mm-hmm. We've kind of always steered clear of the political and religious conversations because my dad is an atheist and you know, he is a far leaning leftist. I call him, you know, an old school hippie.
Right.
Leftist hippie. He is. And so we've kind of steered clear of each other. He knew I was a Trump supporter from way back when. He knew I had family and I had friends who were Trump supporters.
You just opted not to talk about it.
So we just left it alone. We just knew that line that we did not want to cross for the sake of our relationship. And I was like, you know what? I respect that. I like that. Okay, makes sense. So then Audrey, his wife, posts something on social media talking about, you know, things need to calm down. And I forgot what it was or what it was over. You know, we should be able to agree to disagree. You know, my dad is telling me the same thing when he comes to visit. We should be able to agree to disagree about our politics. And I'm like, okay. Yeah, but all that 100%. Changed when I started getting screenshots and seeing some of the stuff he was saying. And, you know, it's funny because as Rodney Berg, who was the same one you sent me the photo of the meme that you had sent, my dad had reposted Charlie Kirk was a racist.
Yep.
Based off of what he was saying.
Oh no, what I sent you was me just...
I know. I'm just saying okay. Behind the scenes.
Gotcha.
Did Trump have Kirk murdered for a diversion?
Yeah.
That's conspiracy theory.
That's that. They're calling it blue and on. It's the same kind of thought process that goes in behind saying that Trump faked his own assassination attempt and he didn't ever actually have the injury on his ear.
Yeah.
After these people spent forever making fun of the QAnon people.
So then we talk about there was a screenshot of a video. Charlie Kirk was evil. Another post: Republicans love white supremacists. That's what he posted. Those are his words, right?
So he posts.
He would share something, but add context to commentary.
Yeah.
Women that support Trump apparently have no self-esteem.
Oh.
One post that was made, right?
Okay.
Another one. Republicans are very violent. Okay.
Not some of them. Not a couple of them, but all of them based on that.
Right. So then my dad shares this post from the smartnews.com about President Trump that says this asshole was Kirk's hero. Talking about Trump.
Okay.
So then another post. Now, mind you, these are... My dad doesn't just get on social media once a day. He's on there every hour. And from the people that were sending me screenshots were like, he has got a serious problem. Like, it is literally 15 to 20 posts in one day. Just some of the fucked up shit that he said. So
yeah, I've noticed. I brought it up to you the other day. One of our mutual friends, his parents are doing the same thing. Just every post looked like it was a damn CNN headline.
Right. So then he shares this post. Okay, these were all talking points with no context, and that's important for people to understand. Things to remember about Charlie Kirk. He said that it was a huge mistake to pass the Civil Rights Act in 1964. End quote. No context.
Right.
No context.
Right.
He blamed Jewish money for running American culture. No context.
Yeah.
He said gay people are destructive and endorsed having them put to death. No context. And I can't read the. Hang on, let me. Okay. He said the Second Amendment is worth unaliving of something.
Yeah, that's the one where he said that. I've seen that one shared around a lot.
Yeah. So
where Charlie Kirk apparently advocated for Second Amendment to the right and said, if a few people have to die, it's worth the cost. They made it sound like school shootings, it's all worth it.
Yeah, he was saying it was justifiable, and it's not. So
yeah, that's not even.
So then my dad goes on to add his commentary. He said Charlie Kirk was a racist piece of shit. And then Republicans are corrupt. Charlie Kirk, you should feel bad that he passed. Oh, really? And then he was a racist. And then he shared another post about, what is it? Kindness isn't safe. It isn't easy, but it's also human. He shared that. Republicans can be the most evil. Another one, right-wing bigot, Charlie Kirk was evil. Charlie Kirk was a racist. I mean, the amount of vitriol coming from my father is astonishing. I've got so many more.
And you're saying this was just coming one after one after
this is one after
same topic, or like I know I post a lot. I probably post 20 times a day sometimes.
No, I mean
I have a wide variety of different things and comedy and pictures and it's not Charlie Kirk is Charlie Kirk is Charlie Kirk.
Okay, first of all, what you post, there's context added to what it is you're putting out there into the ether, right? With my dad, it's very, I'm not going to look into it. I'm not going to do my homework. I'm not going to listen to context and which it needed. And I'm just going to go along with the normal social talking points of the leftist. And he's a racist piece of shit off of bullet points of things that literally need context because he debated people.
Right.
You can take so many things out of context. You can take this video we're doing right now and put it out of context.
100%.
So my point is,
we might even just for funsies say a few things specifically to be taken out of context.
Right. So my point is that I didn't realize my dad had gotten so bad and so vile with the things that he was posting. And as I was laying there in bed and I'm seeing all this and I'm scrolling through and I'm thinking, you motherfucker, you were just here in my home a year ago. You knew all of my family and friends are Trump supporters.
Mm-hmm.
I went out of my way.
Trump adjacent,
I went out of my way to make sure that I covered most of the cost for you to come out here.
Mm-hmm.
And this is how you feel about, like, he didn't say most Trump supporters. He didn't say few Trump supporters.
Yeah.
It was just Trump supporters. That's generalizing everyone that is in the conservative. I mean, he said conservatives are evil. So that's how we feel about me and everybody else that I'm associated with.
Yeah, the way you could read that, and this is why I understand. I do understand why you're pissed about it, is because you could, in all fairness, he might as well have just posted, Anthony is evil. Anthony is, a racist. Anthony is what, just insert your name.
That's all you had to do.
No, I know he's not, I know your politics and your personal beliefs are, you aren't your personal belief, or you aren't, how do I phrase this? I don't get so caught up, my beliefs aren't so intertwined with me that I'm so sensitive to feedback. Like you can tell me things about what I believe, negative, positive, constructively, whatever.
Right.
And I don't take it so personally because I'm not that intertwined with my beliefs, right?
Right.
And I don't get a sense that you are either. But I get a sense that he is because of the way he's posting. Like, his beliefs are him. Like, if you were to paste the same thing about Democrats are, he would be taking that personally.
Right.
I don't think you're taking it so personally as that, but I think you understand on some level that if he caught you posting stuff like that, he would have a fit probably. I don't mean to put, thoughts in your head or nothing, but it's just the sense of knowing you as long as I have.
I feel like as he's gotten older, hate has transferred, meaning that he was very hateful to women.
Hmm.
Now he's just hateful online. He may not be doing the shit that he was doing years ago, but he's still doing it away. But now it's on social media.
Yeah.
It's for the world to see. Everything's public. You can go to Lamar Trawick's Facebook page and see it all. You went on there, you saw it all,
Yeah. Yeah. No.
and
See that drives me nuts too with some of these people, because not just your dad. It's just in general. Like a lot of these people, they don't they don't get any interaction with somebody who believes differently than they do, because of the way that that side of the political aisle is set up to reject anything that's not what they already believe, right?
right,
So, like, I've met you, your whole family. I've met, your wife's family, girlfriend's family. I'm not sure if you're calling her girlfriend still. Not wife,
significant other,
significant other. We'll go with that. Okay. Anyway, I've met her family. Her
right,
family, lovely people, love them to
right.
death. Like, I can't even imagine in a million years that any of those adjectives would apply to them. They're just the sweetest people. I'm like,
Right.
but him just posting these things, not knowing, and generalizing like that is I don't know whether to be angry or feel bad for him. You know what I'm saying?
When all this originally went down, I was enraged. And I've been sitting on this for a week now.
Mm-hmm.
And I thought, okay, well, maybe this week was probably what I needed before we discussed it. Because we had a conversation.
Yeah.
And I told you, I said, if I lose my shit, just let me go and let me say what I need to say.
Yeah. Yeah.
I'm not acting that way.
Yeah. You were on the
So
verge even then of exploding. You're like, I'll just save it for the show.
I was in a
I'm
very,
like, I
very
get it.
dark place. I was in a bad place. And then what I want people to understand is it wasn't about Charlie Kirk.
Mm-hmm.
It was just the tipping point of everything that has compiled over the last 40 something years.
Yeah.
You know what I'm
Yeah, so
saying?
that's maybe that's the context that I'm missing is I these people exist. Like you've seen their
Right.
posts online. uh, and I get that it's your dad, but your dad's not been in your life that much. Why did it bother you so much? Is I guess would be the piece that I'm missing.
Because I've
Like
spent
I could,
majority of my life wanting to forgive a lot of the evil shit that he's doing, and he's still doing evil shit.
yeah.
Calling people evil, saying things that are just
Ironically,
not.
yeah,
Yeah, I mean, it's funny, an evil person calling somebody else evil. It's just like, huh, that's interesting. You know, it's funny because when my grandmother was alive, God rest her soul, she always told me, and I know this quote's been around for a long time, you know, in a world full of evil, you know, you need to be the good in a world that is evil.
hmm,
You know, if you can't be anything else, be that. And I've devoted most of my life helping people and serving my community and trying to be the best possible person I can be.
yeah,
Because growing up the way that I did with two just degenerates of parents, the good that I'm supposed to find in the world was not taught to me. I was self-taught
yeah, yeah,
to understand what sympathy and love and compassion for others really meant and what it looked like. The only way I was going to figure that out is by donating my time to see others be compassionate and loving and caring and empathetic. And you know, these are all traits that I've developed because I've brought those people into my life.
yeah. Surrounded yourself with.
It was never taught. And that's what makes me so different from my parents, is because you know they never instill those values and those morals and just the moral compass that you need to have to go through life to know that there is good versus evil. And when you see evil, you know what to do with it, but you also know what to do with the good that's in this world.
To be fair, you also weren't taught how forgiveness works either,
No, there was a lot
and
of things I wasn't taught.
right, and you don't really at least see. I know you're saying you're trying to forgive him and try that fresh, clean slate,
Right.
which is if that's your approach, by all means. But something that I always seem to hear missing from forgiveness stories in general was restitution served. And sometimes restitution is not possible. The damage is so great that you're just
And I'm wondering if that's where I'm at.
never like maybe he's done so much damage to the relationship, there is no restitution even possible. And I wonder if part of what's angering you is maybe coming to terms with the fact that it doesn't matter at this point how much he comes and grovels, begs, says I'm sorry, apologizes, and tries to. There's just at this point it's so much of a divide between you guys that that's not possible. I wonder if that's part of what.
I think because he's older, and I know time's running out, I want him just to be a decent, good person in life.
Yeah.
He has shown elements of that, and I know he can be. He just opts not to be consistent with it. Whereas I've been more consistent throughout my life of trying to educate myself more, teach myself things, be a better person, serve others, try to forgive, to be understanding, to think about life in a way that was not taught is very difficult, because you in itself is you're having to be your own teacher on something that you can't really teach.
Yeah.
Unless you live the life experiences in which I have. I mean,
well, it's like you spent your whole childhood, learning English, and now you're an adult and you're being expected to learn Chinese, and you're like, I don't know how to speak Chinese. What do you mean? And like, so now you've got to start from scratch.
Yeah.
And it's not only that you got to learn Chinese, but somehow in the mix of things, you got to unlearn all the English you learn. That's even more of a challenge.
Like, or at least retain the English you do know.
Right. All basically what I'm saying is all the shitty behaviors and things that was your parents did to you, around you, and modeled for you. You're having to learn a whole nother way of speaking while
right,
basically unlearning the shit.
Yeah,
that's I mean, learning to do things the right way is a hell of an undertaking as it is, but learning the new ways while also forgetting the old ways, Jesus Christ, man, that's a hell of a hill to climb.
Well, and I tell people, like, when I get into this dark place, it is very hard to get out of, because you spend most of your life getting out of it in the first place, because of your upbringing, because of the violence, just the unstableness of the home and the parents and whatever else seems to be going on. So when you're constantly clawing and scraping to get out of that hole, and you find some sense in the world or belonging of what you know is to be good and what is to be bad, and what is to be respectful and thoughtful and caring and empathetic and all those other things that go with it,
right,
you find yourself in a really good place. But then there's times where it's almost like, the darkness is kind of tapping you on the shoulder, like, come on back.
We're still here.
We're still here. One little slip and we're going to bring you back. And I tell you what, dude, it was just like, with my dad in this situation, it was very easy to get back into that. And I think that's one of the reasons why I've been so hyper focused on what I've done over the years with community service, is because through tragedy, you see, the good in the world. You really do. It is highlighted in a way that I can't describe. And if anybody's ever been a part of that, you know it. I mean, you saw that out in Mount Juliet. Mm-hmm. You saw so many people, like, the good really kind of just illuminates itself anywhere you go, anybody you talk to. And it's like, it makes you feel like nothing bad in the world can happen right there in that moment. You know that the bad exists. You know that it's a part of the human experience, but in that moment, it's okay. It's okay. And there are enough good people in this world that the evil doesn't or won't take over as much as you think that it
Just
could.
A powerful reminder that there is good in the world.
Right. And it goes back to what my grandmother said, I mean, with all the evil in the world, be the good in it. And it's just like, unfortunately, I have to, at this point in my life, cut certain people out in order to sustain that good, because evil is just not something I can deal with anymore, because I've dealt with it for so long.
Well, do you think part of it was that you feel like you've done so much good in the world and you become so much of a better person than you maybe even dreamed you could become.
No, I'm always
That,
a work in progress.
right, but I mean, I imagine you've come along farther than even you at one point thought you could, right?
I'm
Um,
surprised I've lived past 25, given,
right.
my
So,
history.
is there a certain part of you that's also like thought, by bringing your dad or allowing him back in, that you would be like you're like, okay, I'm good right now. I can handle a little bit of darkness. I can handle it. I can take it. Whatever he's gonna throw at me, I can take it. Like I don't know if there was maybe a small element of that
No, actually
because
there
you
was, because I felt like I had sustained enough good in my life and enough structure and enough discipline to deal with that sort of darkness. Um, when in reality, recently I realized that's not the case.
yeah,
It's just not.
just not the case.
No, and I don't. I mean, to get out of it is becoming a lot easier, but getting back into it is just like it almost happens immediately. Um, and I
Well,
would
yeah, we're
contribute
getting
some of
older
that.
too.
I would contribute some of that to, as you get older, you don't deal with the bullshit as much. You
Hmm.
don't tolerate it. Whereas I think if when we're younger, we do tolerate a little bit more than I say we do now. And I think a large part that's just, um, understanding the way of the world, and we've been enough and we've been around long enough to understand, okay, well,
Yeah,
we
yeah.
just need to
We've
get rid of
seen
that.
these stories play out enough where we can kind of discern who's actually going to make the change for the better and who's
Yeah.
not. It's yeah. I'm finding that I'm very valuable to my kids in that way, being able to go, yeah, I've lived that. I've seen this story, and if you put it that way, it's like, yeah, I've seen that exact story play out.
Yeah.
You know, you don't want no part of that. I promise you.
Well, in the value of my life recently has been the people that I've brought into my life or I've kept in my life for so many years. I've got a lot of friends, and I'm very thankful for this. I'm very blessed that I've known for more than 30 years. And you and I have had this discussion before, and we've known each other for, I think, 12, 13 years now.
Oh, Jesus Christ!
I know
It's
it's
been
been a
that long.
minute. Yeah. But
I was surprised. I was surprised when you told me it had been since spring since we hung out last.
yeah.
I thought it had been just a few weeks ago. I mean,
No.
like at the most, I was like, that was probably a month ago. If
So I've been
everything
very.
flies so much faster
I
when you get
know.
older,
Well,
man.
it's just we're busy. We got lives, families, and I get it. But for me, it's you've become very selective on who you allow in your life because you have spent all these years trying to build something that's solid, and you don't want anything to kind of get into that's going to disrupt it. And if it does, you got to get rid of it. And that's what happened with my dad. He came into my life. He came into my home. He hung out with friends and family, people that are very important to me.
Yeah, yeah.
And then I read what you're saying about them. May not be indirect. I mean, it's kind of indirect,
Yeah,
but
yeah.
it's still
It's
there.
not like he named him by name, but yeah,
Right.
But he doesn't have the seem to have the understanding that essentially that's what he's doing.
Right. So for me, it's just I've got to remove that element. And I made a post on social media about the thing going on with my dad. And I'm normally not like that because I can be impulsive, but not in the sense of doing it on social media.
Right.
Um, but I was then because I was so irate with it. And then eventually I took the post down. But when the post was up, I was getting a lot of comments about, well, he's still your dad. That sort of thinking and that sort of mindset irks me to the end of the world.
Yeah, I don't get it. I would have never said that to you.
Well, you also know my background, you know my history, you know what I've been through,
Mm-hmm.
but a lot of people don't. And that's why I'm a little bit more forgiving with that, is because and again, there's no context behind what my post
Yeah.
is really about. So without providing context and them knowing the history, I understand why they're saying that. But it needs to be addressed. Like we have become a people that are willing to excuse a lot of bad behaviors just because it's a family member, even more so when it's our
Right,
parents.
right.
And that has got to truly stop because I think that does more harm than good to not only our mental state of mind, but the way we also project that into our daily life.
Can you imagine how much better children would be raised overall if society wasn't sitting there telling you all the time, well, that's your mom. Well, that's your dad. You're
Yeah.
supposed to love them. You're supposed to, you know, but because we've allowed that to be just the thing
The
everybody
norm.
just accepts. Yeah, that's the norm. We're just like, okay, well, it's my mom, so I ignore that shitty behavior. And
No.
can you imagine how much more careful people would parent their kids if they knew that there was a chance that their kids would completely shut them out, just like they would anybody else? Like if a friend, like a random stranger, did half the crap to you,
Right.
you wouldn't think twice.
No.
But because we have this special category called mom and dad, or insert family member, whatever.
Siblings,
Yeah,
whatever.
yeah, right, yeah. Just because we have this special category, all of a sudden the behavior is excusable.
Right.
That's not. No, no. We need to encourage each other to be better, and we need to stop having these special categories for people. If my any of my parents, I had conversations with my parents once I started getting into like the peaceful parenting thing, and we had conversations about it. Like I'm like, Mom, Dad, that really, you know, that bothered me. And we had a conversation about it. And the fact that we were able to do that, I treated them like I would treat anybody else. So I was like, hey, let's talk about this. See if we can find common ground here. And we did, and we had a really good talk about it. And
Yeah.
most people don't have that opportunity, and I recognize that mine is an exception. But like I said, if I had the feeling as a parent that my parents or my kids could just turn around any day and just be like, okay, I don't like the way you treated me. I'm out of here. I'm gonna raise them a lot better. Is what I'm saying. I guess.
Yeah. I just I hate that my life's been dealt this way. It's like I was dealt the worst hand. Fucking. I mean, I know other people have it worse than I do, but I mean, as far as I'm concerned, with what I've gone through, was pretty. Like I get mad at that sometimes, dude. I'm thinking, why the fuck do? Why was I dealt this hand? Why was I given this hand to live life? Why did I have to go this route? Why? What was the purpose for this? It does not make any sense. And I don't know.
Do you think that you would have achieved the amount of good in the world if you didn't have the evil to compare it to?
Oh no, it's hard. I mean, that's hard to tell. It's hard to say.
Yeah, I know we don't have the alternative to compare it to, the null
I don't
hypothesis
know.
here,
I
but
mean, I like to think so because I think naturally, I just by human nature, I think we all have that in us. I think maybe what I did was I really amplified it because I wanted to remove myself so far away from it.
I think
Um,
that mindset might be the reason why Charlie Kirk's assassination was so shocking for many people.
what's that?
Just having this sense that most people are inherently built the way you are,
Yeah,
and then when you when you have a very shocking reminder that we are in fact not all built that way. Um, that kid from all indications was raised in a really healthy mom dad conservative household, went to church, did all
hmm
the things, and then he goes to college for a couple of years or whatever. At least as far as I know the story, ended up going to college for a couple of years and got indoctrinated, and now he's got a trans lover, and now he's borrowing his grandpa's gun and shooting Charlie Kirk.
but that
Like,
but that goes back to what I
Jesus, man.
said. Where does it start?
Yeah,
Where does it go wrong? And I think that's where we're seeing this because it's the family structure is important. We've preached that many times.
paramount.
He had that family structure,
Yeah,
but it was broken down when he got into college.
from the limited amount we have, because we could even go further psychologizing it if that's a word.
Yeah, I don't want to go that route,
Like
but
we could, but what I was just to go a little bit into it, he very very clearly something was wrong there where he didn't
right.
get along with his parents. Like I would have been mortified to do anything even remotely like that. Knowing what I love my parents, man. You know, I just couldn't ever imagine that the relationship doesn't scream that it's good between him and his parents.
Right.
If that was the end result of all that, something's wrong there. I
But
don't know what it
but
is.
what you saw, like what I was saying though, it's so quick to fall into a dark place.
Yeah,
And that's where I've told people, it's easy to fall into it, but then man, it takes years to get back out of
Yep.
it. And I think as I've gotten older and because I've implemented so many good things in my life, it has made it easier. But man, sometimes it's just like this is taking forever.
Yeah, for sure. No, what part? See, I'm still kind of like, I don't feel like it's been answered for me just yet. The whole, the amount of angry you were doesn't quite match to me. Um,
In what sense?
I've seen you react to stuff. I've seen you get hot,
Mm-hmm.
but I don't think I've ever seen you get this hot over something that is pretty common behavior from people on the left in general. And I know it's your dad, I know that, but I also know your history, and you haven't had that much of a close connection with him. So it's not like it would make sense if the amount of anger would connect for me, or make more sense if like he's been pretty good your whole life, and then all of a sudden he just started going down the wrong rabbit hole in the last couple of years or so, and now he's just straight up thinking you're evil, and he's actually calling you out, and calling, what I'm saying, like really doing some directly evil shit to you, completely out of the blue, completely unexpected. It's like, but you kind of expected this a little bit, and you seemed surprised by it a little bit.
Because
And that's what I'm trying. I guess that's what I'm trying to like. It was like I could see you being, I could see you getting mad about it, but you were like mad about it, if that makes sense. And
right,
there's that gap between it, from where your baseline normally is to
right.
where that was. That's what I'm trying to figure out.
So going back to as a child and running over Brooke with a car
Right.
and beating the shit out of Keith, I know that place that I'm capable of getting into,
Mm-hmm.
and I so much don't want to be that person. It's not who I am.
Yeah.
Um, so I think sitting on this for a week now before we decided to discuss it was probably in the best interest for everyone.
No, I get it. I get it.
It's just if you can recognize how if you can truly see how much you can do damage to others, and you've done damage to others in the past, and if you can catch it before it gets too dark, you can prevent yourself from doing a lot of
Yeah.
bad things.
Yeah. I noticed like a through line of hope intermixed in this. We never talked about hope yet.
I hope is an interesting thing. I don't really ever talk about it. I don't really understand it. And what I mean by that is we all live in this world, right? It's a beautiful place. To be here, to be alive, to be breathing above ground, it's a beautiful thing. And I don't take it for granted because I know a lot of people do. And there's a lot of people who are in far worse situations than you and I are, right? But what is hope for me? I don't I don't know. I hope to be better than what I was 10 years ago, 2 weeks ago. I hope to be a better person 6 months from now.
It's
To be
interesting that that's the direction you took. That's not even remotely what I was talking about.
oh, sorry.
No, you're good. I was just curious where you were going with it. I just found it interesting. That's where you went.
Like
What I'm talking.
describe to me as what you're.
Well, what I'm talking about is like, there's this element of hope that we didn't touch on, but there's an element of hope in your story about the whole interaction with your dad and everything. How, like, you kind of had this hope that everything was moving in this right direction, like everything was good. He was becoming a better man, and we were developing a relationship, and then you see that stuff, and like all that hope was just
Shattered.
just like a rug pulled out from underneath you. Like,
Well, that's where I was going with what I was saying is that for me over the years is I had hope that I could establish some sort of relationship, giving the way of the world and what we are blessed with, and hoping that he would do better, be better, and seeing what he's posted, seeing how he's acted, getting the random drunk text at certain times. It's just like I've given you so much rope, and I've given you so much in life to steer it in a direction. You could have gone any way you want with it. And I had hope for a long time that my dad would be thankful and be blessed, as I was mentioning earlier, um, to say, you know what, I'm gonna do something different here.
Yeah.
And I had that hope that he was gonna recognize that. And I think in some sense he did, but at the end of the day, he didn't. Um, and then it's just like it shatters everything from hope, everything from from forgiveness. It's just because some people have asked me, they're like, when it comes to your father, why are you this way with him and not with your mom? And I'm like, okay, well that's a valid question. Well, let me think on that. And I've thought on that. With my mother raised me. My mother is the one who instilled a lot of the fear and a lot of the anger and a lot of the, feelings that I had towards my mother that kind of contributed to that dark place. My dad didn't do that. My mom did. And as I've gotten older and I've seen my mom do that with other people besides myself, is why I don't have a relationship with my mother, as we've discussed before. With my dad, it's a little bit different. My dad can be a really good guy. He can mean well, he can do well, but there's this side of him that has got that anger, that has got this, I'm not going to treat people well because of my beliefs and whether it's political or social or whatever. And I don't know. He walks this fine line.
I mean, your mom did. Your mom did raise you, and she did instill those negative values. Would be a fair way of characterizing negative values in you.
Right.
I wouldn't say your dad's not a stupid man, is he? He's not just completely like.
I like to think that. Well, it's kind of hard to say because I'm seeing the shit he's posting. I'm thinking, if you're a critical thinker, or if you got the IQ.
Well, I'm not saying a critical thinker. He's smart enough to know.
Are you to post something like that? And it's just not a one-off situation.
What I'm getting at is, I would imagine back when he left you when you were all of 3 or 4 years old.
Yeah.
I'm sure he was smart enough to know what kind of person your mom was. He couldn't even deal with your mom's bullshit.
He's told me, he's expressed those.
And he left you at all of 3 or 4 years old to deal with your mom's bullshit. Like, he couldn't deal with it, but sure, you can do it.
And that, that's the other thing.
Attaboy, Anthony, you got this, buddy.
That's the other thing I struggle with. He never fought for me and Nicole.
Yeah.
And my sister.
Yeah.
He never made it a point to take my mom to court. He never made it a point to say, you know what, fuck this. Those are my kids. Yeah. Never fought for us. Never. There's a lot of resentment behind that. So you factor in resentment, the loss of hope, or having established some sort of hope, over the years, working on forgiveness.
Mm-hmm.
At what point
being let down over and over and over?
At what point do I just cut that cord and just completely walk away?
Yeah, that's a question only you can answer.
And I did. For me, it's very liberating, but it hurts because I have to stand on some sort of moral ground here. I have to understand that it is not okay to allow people to continue this kind of behavior. Mm-hmm. Because I wouldn't want people around me, if I was, exhibiting these behaviors, and if they up and left and cut me off and quit talking to me and calling me because of the shit I was doing, that would be a moment of reflection to figure out, what the fuck am I doing to keep people away, to push people away? Something is wrong. It's inherently wrong. There's something not good about me. What is it?
Yeah, you would think that self-reflection is a muscle that's missing in a lot of people.
But I think that's probably the years of me spending time out on the lake by myself and just, people ask me all the time, yeah, I love fishing, but it gives me a lot of time to think and really kind of be alone with my thoughts and to understand the way of the world and people that are in it and friendships, the value of friendships. I think that's often overlooked. I think that people don't give the value of a friendship enough credit or what it means or any kind of substance behind it because of the digital age we live in.
Mhm.
People are more connected through devices than they are through one-on-one
And
interactions
they're more
or
disposable as a result.
right. And the human element, we need human contact. That we are social creatures. We need that. We thrive on that. You know, it's who we are. And I've seen it throughout the community service that I've done.
Mhm.
It's very, very important. And it's one of the reasons why, you know, what you and I have or what I've got with others is highly important to me. We may not talk every day. We may not text every day. But I hope
Oh, I'd
people
drop everything in
under
a heartbeat if you called me.
I know, but I hope that people
And you
understand.
do the same for me, I'm
Right.
sure.
And I have. But for me, it's just, is that what we're missing? Are we missing that with the way we look at our friends? We should be doing with our families and, with our coworkers. Like, it is so inherently important to me to have people I care about and to tell them I care about them and express that I care about them and love them and respect them and cherish them and want the best in the world for them and
Mhm.
do anything for them. But I'm also quick to, you're only going to get so many passes before I'm done.
Yeah. Yeah.
It's almost as if I'm like, I'm so quick to let friends go if they don't sustain those kind of values or morals that I am with family. I spent years trying to forgive my father and hang on to this hope. Um, but whereas friends, it's like I'm so quick to cut it off at the
Yeah,
knees.
that's interesting. Earlier you said it drives you nuts when people just say, well, that's your dad. But you're still behaving as though, well, that's my dad.
Yeah.
Like, just an interesting thing I noticed.
It's a struggle.
Yeah.
I told you, I mean, I even posted that it's a daily
It's
struggle.
hard to break that social programming, isn't it?
It is, but and I think that's one of the reasons why there is so much value in friendships is because we don't have that inherent title of being a sibling or a mother and a father, and we kind of really hang on to that, just the importance of what it is to be a friend. I think we go a little bit further with our friends than we do with our own family because we see them, we fight with them all the time, or most of the time, or some of the time, and not so much with our friends, or at least in my circle.
Yeah.
Um, I don't know, man. So
I'm sure we've given people a lot to think on, for sure.
I don't
There's
think it's
there's there's
so.
there's a lot here still to unpack, I'm sure. Because even like we were saying earlier, we could spend 7 or 8 hours just breaking down all of the issues that put us here in this position. How do we even get to this position where these are the kind of conversations we're having to have with people, or these are the kind of decisions that we're having to make um, surrounding whether or not we allow somebody in our lives. I don't know if there's.
I don't know. In conclusion, I appreciate you talking to me for, first and foremost, whether it's on camera or off camera, it's the same conversation I'd have with you
Yeah.
regardless. Um,
There's a lot of these conversations that I've had with people that I'm like, man, if only we could have recorded that. It was so good. And
yeah,
it's not because I'm trying to make content as much. It's because I want other people to be able to have these, see that these types of conversations are even possible.
right.
Hear how they go. When you actually have somebody that's listening and actively, engaging in conversation with you and giving you feedback, and you both end up better for it. And it's just I love allowing people that little window into what's going on here. Just in case you're wondering.
No, well, for me, I don't, at one point, I forgot that we were even recording this because this is typically something we discuss, when we are hanging out with each other without the lights and the cameras and
Right.
everything turned on. And, and I told you, I was just like, we need to make this look more authentic because it is. And every time we have these conversations, they are authentic. And But I think what people need to understand too is that, you know, what we talk about is because we're genuine friends.
Mm-hmm.
We're not just a couple of buddies who do a podcast or whatever. I mean, these are the kind of conversations we have when everything isn't turned on. As far as moving forward, which I kind of wanted to touch on before we wrap this up.
No.
I don't know. Moving forward is going to be interesting. I know where I'm at with my dad. I know where I'm at with my friends. I know where I'm at with everything else. And I have found a lot of peace within that.
I think a good way to end would be to ask you this. What do you hope to accomplish with this particular conversation? Why did we record it versus just having it over the phone or having it face to face without the cameras? Like what made you decide that this one needed to be documented, I guess?
Because my father felt like he needed to share it on social media, his thoughts and his opinions. I needed to share my thoughts and opinions on social media about what it does and how detrimental it is to families and friends when you act a certain way. There needs to be some sort of accountability and responsibility. I made a post recently. I said, you know, a part of the podcast and a part of the media, we have a responsibility to our audience. We do. And what we say and how we conduct ourselves. If we're out here calling for violence, that's not good.
Yeah.
You know, and I hope what people take away from this is understanding that, you know, it is okay to be vulnerable in times like this because we got to understand where we're coming from. And it's also the same conversation you should be able to have in private without the cameras turned on. But because my dad took it to social media and other people are now seeing what he's posting, I needed to put something out there. Had he not done that and he'd done it in private, there wouldn't have been a conversation like this over the internet.
Sure.
So,
well,
it's just the way of the world, dude. I mean, I've never been one to shy away from my personal life. I think a lot of people know that by now.
Mm-hmm.
I've been very vocal about it, and I hope that it helps others, and I hope that it, you know, gives people either the courage or the hope to figure out what they need to do on their own. So
it's a heavy conversation, man.
That's part of what we do and what we talk about.
Yeah.
It's uncomfortable conversations without a condom.
I heard that. So. All right, man. I'm going to shut off the cameras.
Yeah, love you.
Oh, let's see.